It was the album that catapulted an emo-adjacent punk band from Chicago into global superstardom. It turned awkward, overly wordy song titles into a generational trademark. And it was proof that emotional vulnerability, sarcasm, and screaming guitars could dominate the mainstream. From Under the Cork Tree isn't just Fall Out Boy's breakout album, it's a cultural milestone. Hell, it was a cultural reset. A middle finger born from a live journal entry, a glittery grenade tossed into the heart of the mainstream, and I would consider it a modern classic. On May 3rd, 2005, four dudes from Chicago dropped an album that would unknowingly change the face of alternative music, ushering in the golden age of emo pop for a whole generation of misunderstood teenagers and eyeliner salesmen. So today, we're taking a look back at Fall Out Boy's sophomore album, which also happened to be their major label debut, how it launched and saved the band's career, and continues to endure 20 years later. Before Cork Tree, Fall Out Boy was just another Warped Tour band grinding through basement shows and VFW halls. Their 2003 debut, Take This to Your Grave, made waves in the pop-punk underground, thanks to Fueled by Ramen, but they were still fighting for shelf space at Hot Topic. Behind the scenes, Pete Wentz, the band's bassist, had become their frontman, even if Patrick Stump was the voice of the band. His charisma, his vulnerability, and yes, his unforgettable eyeliner, or guyliner, as some might say, made Pete Wentz a Tumblr-era icon before Tumblr ever existed. A staple in your MySpace top 8. The band was on the brink of something huge, or something tragic. A wise man once said, "I'm a stitch away from making it and a scar away from falling apart." You know, on the song The Afterlife of the Party on the band's 2007 album Infinity on High. A perfect allegory to describe the state of the band in 2005. And around that time, the band was starting to fracture. Wentz has openly talked about struggling with mental health during this time, even surviving a suicide attempt shortly after the album was recorded. That emotional turbulence wasn't just subtext, it became part of the DNA of the album itself. Fall Out Boy nearly broke up. To say that From Under the Cork Tree was what saved the band at that time would be an understatement. The band set out to create an album that gave that darkness a purpose. Fall Out Boy signed to Island Records, a major label. They went to California and recorded with Neil Avron, who had worked with New Found Glory and Yellowcard. The label had high hopes, but nobody could have predicted what came next. The band poured their bitterness, their anxieties, and their absurd humor into the record. The result was From Under the Cork Tree, an album full of bitter revenge fantasies, self-loathing anthems, and long ridiculous song titles. I slept with someone in Fall Out Boy, and all I got was a stupid song written about me. Our lawyer made us change the name of this song so we wouldn't get sued. We'll talk about that one in a second. It was both hilarious and heartbreaking, a perfect snapshot of post-adolescent rage, insecurity, and ambition. And the singles from this album would change everything for the band. Sugar We're Going Down dropped in April of 2005, and it was unlike anything else on radio. The song was a smash, and it wasn't even the band's first choice to be the lead single. Patrick Stump clarified that the song went through countless rewrites until they landed on the final version that you hear on the album today. If you dig hard enough, there are videos on the internet that exist that feature the band performing an early version of the song, with a lot of different lyrics that you may not recognize. The track sounded huge, with crashing guitars and an unforgettable chorus that felt like it was falling apart as it happened. And who could forget the iconic drum beat that Andy Hurley kicks off the entire song with? It exploded onto MTV, TRL, and Fuse, and soon after, the Billboard charts. By the end of 2005, Cork Tree had went triple platinum, and Dance Dance, the second single, only added to the momentum. Suddenly, Fall Out Boy weren't just leading an entire emo movement. They were full-blown pop culture icons. They were hosting and performing on award shows, receiving Grammy nominations, and even landed a spot on Saturday Night Live that fans believe may have gotten them banned from ever guesting on the show since. And the thing was, the band was modest about all of it. They were awkward, messy, and sincere. It almost felt like to love the band was to know them. And that made a generation of kids that felt just as awkward as them fall in love with them, myself included. The title, From Under the Cork Tree, is a nod to the story of Ferdinand, the classic children's book about a bull who refuses to fight, choosing instead to sit under a cork tree and smell the flowers. It's not just a quirky literary reference, it's a metaphor for the album itself. An album about refusing to fit into the mold, about sensitivity in a world that demands aggression. Pete Wentz saw himself in Ferdinand, a misfit, misunderstood, and deeply emotional. And as I mentioned before, when you look at the track list, the lengthy song titles are the norm. I mean, the album opens with the song, "Our lawyer made us change the name of this song so we wouldn't get sued." At first, the band had named the song, "My Name is David Ruffin, and These Are the Temptations," a cheeky nod to the internal drama within the Motown group, The Temptations. But, fearing a lawsuit from the Ruffin estate, their label and legal team advised them that the title had to go. It's snarky and it set the tone for the whole album, a record that's constantly aware of its own commercial ascent, while still clinging to punk rock defiance. Track 2 is "Of All the Gin Joints in All the World." The phrase comes from the 1942 movie Casablanca, arguably one of the most iconic lines in cinema history.
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine.
The song tells a tale of romantic resentment. The other person only wants the idea of him, not the messy, emotional reality. It's a theme that appears all across Cork Tree, the tension between persona and person. Dance Dance features what might be the most iconic Pete Wentz bass riff to this day, a song about someone who keeps putting themselves out there, only to be kept at arm's length, a tension between longing and ego, between wanting to be loved, yet not wanting to admit you care too much. On the track Sophomore Slump or Comeback of the Year, there's a vocal feature from William Beckett of The Academy Is, one of the many artists from the Fueled by Ramen Decadence orbit that Wentz helped cultivate, which is one of my favorite moments on the entire record. 7 Minutes in Heaven, Ada Van Halen, features guest vocals from Panic at the Disco's Brendan Urie in his first ever recorded performance, predating Panic's debut. And to top it all off, the back and forth between Pete Wentz and New Found Glory guitarist Chad Gilbert on "I Slept With Someone" in Fall Out Boy and All I Got Was a Stupid Song Written About Me, yes, that's the song title, is just a cherry on top and one of the most recognizable moments throughout this entire thing. Also, the fact that Get Busy Living or Get Busy Dying didn't make its live debut until last year is pretty wild and criminal if you ask me. Today, From Under the Cork Tree is seen as a defining album, not just for Fall Out Boy, but for an entire genre. It helped usher emo and pop punk into the mainstream in a way that felt genuine. You know, before the Hot Topic boom commercialized it even further. Without Cork Tree, there's a strong argument that bands like Paramore, Panic at the Disco, and The Academy Is, or even modern acts like Olivia Rodrigo and Machine Gun Kelly, might have taken longer to hit the mainstream, or, at the very least, looked very different. And hell, even Taylor Swift has gone on record with saying Pete Wentz is one of her favorite lyricists. This album normalized the idea that you could be angry, broken, depressed, and insecure, and still make great pop music. It made being a loser actually feel kinda cool, at least for a little while. The band has a complicated relationship with pretty much all of their discography. If you've seen my video about Folie à Deux, I talk a lot about this in relation to that album. Pete Wentz has said in interviews that he's grateful for the success of From Under the Cork Tree, but also knows it pigeonholed their music in ways that they spent years trying to escape. Patrick Stump sees it as a time capsule, a record that's very much a 20-year-old man's emotions, in the rawest form. In the band's Rolling Stone cover story, Joe Troman, the band's guitarist, said he felt like a weird extra in a teen soap opera during the band's rise. He was often referred to as the guy who's not Pete or Patrick, despite being a co-founder of the band. And drummer Andy Hurley said he joined Fall Out Boy just to help them record an album, never expecting to end up in magazines next to Paris Hilton. And yet, when the band performs Sugar We're Going Down today, stadiums and arenas still scream every word. 20 years later, From Under the Cork Tree still feels timeless. It's messy, it's dramatic, it's full of inside jokes and self-hate, and dreams way too big for a band from suburban Illinois. And that's exactly why it hit, and why it continues hitting. It afforded the band the career they have today, and will continue to do so for many years to come. So, 20 years of From Under the Cork Tree, that's insane. In an age of polished personas and viral marketing strategies, From Under the Cork Tree reminds us what it means to be raw, sincere, and a little ridiculous, in the name of art, of course. And how sometimes authentic stories are the ones that shine through the most, and stick around the longest. 20 years. For me personally, Fall Out Boy was my gateway band growing up, and what I mean by that is, through their music, I discovered everything else that I still love to this day. I mean, look behind me. I have a framed copy of one of their records right here. If you zoom in, you can see that it's signed by all the members. Pretty cool. And this album remains one of my favorite records of all time. It holds up extremely well. And I know that I will carry these songs with me for the rest of my life. And that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. But I want to hear from you. What is your favorite song on this album? Do you remember where you were when you first heard it? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you haven't seen my Folie à Deux video, it's really extensive. You should give it a watch. I'm going to link that in the description below. As always, thank you for watching. My name is Tyler Common. This is Common Revolt. If you're feeling generous, hit that like button. And if you're feeling extra generous, hit the subscribe button. certain most of you that watch my videos are not yet subscribed, and it goes a long way. 20 years of From Under the Cork Tree. We'll see you next time.